Welcome to this episode of the story. Have you subscribed yet? Chapter 124, Undercurrents. The morning mist of Linksea Town carried the unique warmth of the spiritual spring. As it drifted over the bluestone paths, it condensed into tiny dewdrops on the moss and the cracks. Children baited bamboo baskets to collect spirit rice, 淬炼 by morning dew by the spring. Carpenter Uncle Wang's plane sounded promptly at the hour of the hare. The curtain of Physician Lee's medicine shop was lifted by the wind carrying the fragrance of herbs. Everything seemed to return to the way it was before Sumu's breakthrough. Only the unrepaired cracks on the town wall silently told the story of the recent thrilling events. Sumu stood in Wangyu Valley outside the town, with a wisp of silver-blue, time-reversing spiritual energy condensed at his fingertips. This spiritual energy, which should have been as unruly as a runaway horse, was now as windshun as a stream winding around his fingers, interweaving with another wisp of golden radiance into a spiral light belt. He held his breath and focused, guiding the two spiritual energies to rotate slowly in his palm. With each rotation of the light belt, the surrounding air would ripple with fine waves, but it never exceeded the spiritual energy threshold he had set. The 73rd attempt, finally able to control the fluctuation within 3 miles. Sumu dispersed the spiritual light in his palm, and fine beads of sweat oozed from his forehead. Since the departure of the spirit balances, he had come to this valley to cultivate every day. The black soil at the bottom of the valley, which had been scorched by thunder, became the best place for him to test the fusion of spiritual energies. At this moment, the black soil was covered with patterns of varying depths, and the deepest groove glowed with a faint jade color, which was the trace left by his accidental loss of control yesterday. He bent down to pick up a piece of charred gravel, and his fingertips brushed over the fine cracks on the stone surface. These cracks contained the breath of 3 kinds of spiritual energy: the silver blue of time-reversing spiritual energy, the golden radiance of the spring spiritual energy, and the purple glow of the thunder power that had been drawn down that day. The 3 forces formed a delicate balance in the gravel, like a frozen star map. Sumu suddenly remembered what Feng Wuhen had said before leaving, and a trace of unease crossed his heart. At this time, a gust of wind blew from the valley entrance, carrying the familiar smell of plants. Sumo looked up and saw 3 figures in black, tight-fitting clothes walking through the morning mist. The silver wolf head token hanging at the waist of the leading man shone coldly in the morning light. "Master Su, are you well?" The leading middle-aged man bowed his hands in greeting. He had a resolute face with a long and thin scar at the corner of his eye, and his voice was like a tight bowstring in the wind. "I am Feng Yi of the Ling Feng clan, sent by the young patriarch to assist you in surveying the spiritual energy environment." The 2 men behind him immediately stepped forward. One was holding a copper compass with dense winged patterns carved on the dial. The other was carrying a long wooden box, from which the luster of crystals faintly showed. Sumu recognized the winged pattern level on their yijing. These were the winged whisperers of the Ling Feng clan, specially responsible for surveying spiritual veins, each with a cultivation level of at least the spirit master realm. "I am very grateful for the help of Brother Feng." Sumu stepped forward to meet them, his eyes falling on the copper compass. The pointer of the compass was trembling slightly, pointing in the direction of Linksea Town, and a very thin blue light was channeled around the tip of the needle. "This is the wind-chasing compass," Feng Yi explained. "It can capture the imperceptible undercurrents of spiritual energy." The young patriarch was worried that the earth veins of Linksea Town might have changed due to your breakthrough, so he specially asked us to bring 3 magic tools: the wind-chasing compass, the wind-calming pearl, and the spirit-measuring ruler. He opened the wooden box behind him, which contained 12 crystal-clear jade rulers neatly arranged, with wind runes carved all over the ruler bodies. Sumu felt a warmth in his heart. Feng Wuhen not only sent experts but also prepared the surveying tools so thoroughly, obviously putting the safety of Linksea Town in his heart. He was about to open his mouth to thank, but saw the pointer of the wing-chasing compass suddenly jump violently, and the blue light at the tip of the needle instantly turned into a dazzling red. "What's going on?" Feng Yi's face changed slightly, and he quickly adjusted the knob on the compass. The winged patterns on the compass dial began to rotate, making a buzzing sound like a bee. North direction, there is an abnormal spiritual energy fluctuation which is approaching rapidly. Sumu's heart tightened, and he instantly remembered Feng Wan's warning. He turned to look at the valley entrance. The morning mist had become thick unknowingly, and the originally clear outline of the mountain forest was covered with a layer of gray sha. Even the sound of birdsong had disappeared. "Be on guard!" Feng Yi shouted in a low voice, and the two men behind him immediately protected Sumo in the middle, and the spirit measuring rulers in their hands lit up with blue light at the same time. At this moment, there was a sound of dry branches breaking in the thick fog, and a black shadow swans out like a ghost, pouncing straight at Sumu's face. This black shadow was extremely fast, wrapped in a thick black air. Even the blue light of the wind-chasing compass could not penetrate it. Sumu subconsciously condensed his spiritual energy, and the dual-color light bulb flashed in his palm, but was Andrew on the wrist by Feng Yi. "Master, wait a moment." Feng Yi's eyes were as sharp as an eagle's, and suddenly a net appeared in his hand. The net thread was made of wind silkworm silk mixed with blue gold and glowed with a faint light pattern when unfolded in the air. Its shadow-type stealth technique let me deal with it first. The net covered the black shadow like a flash of lightning, and the winged patterns on the net thread were activated instantly, forming an invisible barrier. The black shadow seemed not to have expected this move, let out a cry of surprise, and quickly jumped back, but was still swept by the edge of the net on his sleeve. At the moment when the black air dispersed, Sumu saw the other party's clothes clearly. It was a dark gray night clothes with half a black skull embroidered on the cuff. "People from the Shadow Gate?" Feng Yi snorted coldly, and the pointer of the compass in his hand had firmly locked on the black shadow. "Dare to act under the nose of the Ling Feng clan? You have a lot of courage." Seeing that his whereabouts were exposed, the black shadow no longer hid. He suddenly pulled off his mask, revealing a face covered with scars. His left eye was an empty black hole, inlaid with a crystal stone shining with red light. "Running dogs of the Ling Feng clan, dare to meddle in the affairs of the Shadow Gate." His voice was as hoarse as sandpaper, and suddenly a short dagger appeared in his hand with green poison on the blade. "Be sensible and hand over Sumo, otherwise don't blame me for being ruthless." The two winged whisperers behind Feng Yi immediately formed seals, and the 12 spirit measuring rulers flew up at the same time, forming a winged wall in the air, ignorant of life and death. The scar on Feng Yi's face trembled slightly in the wind. "It seems that the lesson given to you last time was not profound enough." Just as the two sides were at daggers drawn, Sumo suddenly kaikou, "Wait a minute." He looked at the one-eyed, black-clothed man. "Why is your Shadow Gate chasing me relentlessly?" The one-eyed man sneered, "Sumo, don't play dumb. Who in the entire spirit illusion realm doesn't know that you have fused time-reversing spiritual energy and spring spiritual energy, and even the spirit balancers can't do anything to you? As long as you hand over the method of fusion, the sect master said that not only can he spare your life, but also let you join the Shadow Gate and enjoy all the glory and wealth." Sumo understood in his heart. It seemed that the matter of Linksy Town had spread throughout the spirit illusion realm, and those hidden forces regarded him as a shortcut to gain power. He was about to refute, but saw the pointer of the wind-chasing compass rotate crazily again, this time pointing to 3 different directions, and the red light at the tip of the needle was even more dazzling than before. "Not good. To diversion." Feng Yi's face changed greatly. "There's more than one of them." Before the words fell, 3 piercing sounds came from the thick fog. 3 black crossbow arrows shot at Sumu with a scream, and the arrow tails dragged a faint black smoke, obviously quenched with judu. Feng Yi reacted extremely quickly, and the net in his hand unfolded again, catching all the crossbow arrows. The moment the net thread came into contact with the black smoke, it made a zzz sound of corrosion. "Retreat!" Seeing that the sneak attack failed, the one-eyed man immediately turned around and zunru the thick fog. Feng Yi was about to chase, but was laju by Sumu. "Don't chase. Their target is to lure us out of the valley." Sumu looked into the depths of the thick fog, where there was a faint flash of spiritual energy fluctuation. "These people are just bait, and the real experts are still in the dark." Feng Yi suddenly realized and immediately adjusted his formation to protect Sumo in the center. Seeing that their plan was exposed, the black shadows in 3 directions also no longer hid, and slowly walked out of the thick fog. The leader was an old man in a black robe, holding a snake-head crutch in his hand, and the snake eyes on the top of the crutch were shining with green light. "Little doll of the Ling Feng clan, you have a good eye." The old man's voice was like a broken bellows. "It's a pity that Sumo will be taken by our Shadow Gate today. He shook the crutch gently, and the snakehead suddenly opened its mouth, spitting out a black mist, which turned into 3 poisonous snakes after falling to the ground, swimming towards everyone. It's been-eating mist! Feng Yi's face was 凝重. Everyone hold your breath. This mist can corrode spiritual energy. He quickly took out the wind-combing pearl, which bloomed with a soft blue light in the air, blocking the black mist 3 feet away. Sumo took the opportunity to circulate his spiritual energy, and the dual-color light belts surrounded his body. He could feel that the cultivation of these 3 black shadows was above the middle stage of the spirit-gathering realm, especially the old man in black robe, whose breath was unfathomable, probably close to the spirit master realm. With the strength of Feng Yi and the other 3, it might not be easy to protect him and retreat safely. Master Su, I will send you away with wind escape technique later. Feng Yi said in a low voice, technique later. Feng Yi said in a low voice, and the wind-chasing compass in his hand began to rotate. Leave these people to us. You go back to the town first to inform the Great Elder and let him activate the highest defense formation. But Sumu shook his head. He looked into the depths of the valley, where there was an early warning formation he had set up, and at this moment, the spiritual energy fluctuation of the formation was becoming weaker and weaker. Their target is not me, but the spiritual spring of Lingxi Town, Sumue said in a deep voice. The man mentioned the fusion method just now, but it was just to divert our attention. Feng Yi then noticed that although the pointer of the wind-chasing compass was pointing at the 3 black shadows, there was always a faint light stubbornly pointing in the direction of Lingxi Town. His heart sank, and he finally understood the other party's real intention. Seeing that their plan was seen through, the old man in black robe no longer pretended. He suddenly stamped the snakehead crutch on the ground. After 3 dull roars, the ground suddenly split into 3 deep ditches, and black liquid gushed out of the ditches, emitting a pungent fishy smell. Since you have seen through it, don't blame me for being cruel. The old man smiled sinisterly. Today, both Sumo and the spiritual spring of Lingxi Town will become the possessions of our Shadow Gate. As his words fell, the 3 black shadows launched an attack at the same time. The snakehead crutch of the old man in black robe sprayed black flames, and the other 2 performed shadow clone techniques, turning into dozens of black shadows surrounding from all directions. Feng Yi and the other 3 immediately launched their defenses, and the blue light and black shadows collided fiercely in the morning mist, making a deafening roar. Sumu knew he couldn't hesitate any longer. He quickly took out the wind token given by Feng Wuhen from his arms and held it tightly in his hand. Brother Feng, I'll go to inform the town, and I'll leave it to you here. He shouted loudly, and the time-reversing spiritual energy exploded with all its strength. A silver-blue light belt formed a light wing behind him, and his figure instantly turned into a stream of light, flying towards Lingxi Town. Seeing this, the old man in black robe roared, "Stop him!" A black shadow immediately chased after him, with a poisoned light on a short dagger in his hand, stabbing straight at Sumu's back heart. Sumo was prepared. When he turned around, he injected a golden radiance into the ground, and the spring's spiritual energy instantly caused the ground to bulge, blocking this fatal blow. In this short delay, Sumo had rushed out of Wanyu Valley. He looked back and saw that the valley was filled with blue light and black shadows intertwined. Feng Yi's roar and the old man's wild laughter came faintly. The morning mist was scattered by the impact of spiritual energy, revealing the 1,000-year-old pine at the valley entrance. The morning dew on the pine tree sparkled in the sun like ikukru crystal tears. Sumo clenched his teeth and didn't look back. He knew that every second at this moment was related to the safety of Lingxi Town. The wind under his feet became more and more urgent, carrying the warm breath of the spiritual spring and also a faint smell of blood. He could feel that more black shadows were approaching Lingxi Town, like sharks smelling blood, lurking in the calm morning mist. The outline of Lingxi Town became clearer and clearer, and the defense formation on the town wall had lit up with a faint golden light. Sumo felt a little relieved, but when he saw the familiar figure at the town gate, his pupils suddenly contracted. It was the second elder, who was lying in a pool of blood at the moment, with a black crossbow arrow inserted in his chest. Second elder. Sumu let out a roar, and his speed increased by 3 points. He knew that under this seemingly calm morning mist, undercurrents had long been surging, and the real battle had just begun. The story continues.
More excitement awaits. Subscribe now.